Weird science
is the revolution.
Superman number 12, written by Joshua Williamson, with art by David Baldion, Norm Raptamond, Rex Locus, and Ariana Mayer. And here we come to our conclusion of our Superman, the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad story. And boy, does it feel like things had to be rushed out of nowhere for all the stuff that we have. I have no idea. I swear to God, it feels like this ending just crept up on Joshua Williamson. He had no idea it was coming and had to throw a Hail Mary.
I told somebody the idea that I'm reading this, and it ends up feeling like, oh shit, you mean you're doing that, House of Brainiac story? And they say to him, no, you're doing that House of... Oh shit, how did that sneak up on me? I'm writing it. That's what it felt like. How could this sneak up on you? You're writing it. But I'll go to the point where, what did we say when all that's set up? And not like this, but Parasite, it just ended. What happened with Meryl just ended. Everything just...
Silver Banshee just ended?
Silver Banshee just ends. He ends up setting things up that seem cool, but yet they always end up just as, okay, he gets distracted. Things seem like, why did we need Old West? And maybe you could have had an extra issue there. But when you get to the end... So
we can see, Mr. Grafton Farm in freaking little sailor suits as kids in the 1800s.
And then, in that, like Mr. Burns back in the day, tra-la-la and around looked like Nelly. But when you're going through you even have where you didn't even set the thing up in this, the only thing, oh man, I remember I saw this map back when I was in when did you see that? So you end up all this stuff going on. And the one big thing I wanted to know is, did Lex put you in that wheelchair? You don't even get that? It's so weird. It's so weird, though. I'll point something out later that was odd. But you end up where, how does this end like this with just boom, 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 done, and makes everything before it seem less?
Well, even the idea that our big cliffhanger to the previous issue was the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad was going to send out this altered kryptonite gas through Supercorp out to the Metropolis City that affects people. I thought maybe it only affected people since they said the alternate, but it also affects Kryptonians and people. So we got to be wary on all fronts right now.
Affects them, they just get sick. They get sick.
And that's
quick.
The thing. It seems like they should be dying, and I don't think a single person was affected by this kryptonite gas in this issue.
Yeah, no, they're just running around through it, and then like everything, these stakes that you set up, and even the idea. I mean, the real idea is Lex. He came to Metropolis. He wanted to be a good guy, ends up finding Farm and Graff, decides, oh my God, you're interested in this.
Hey, you like kryptonite too? Me too. We should work together
and they worked on it. That means that later...
Oh shit, I don't like what you're doing. I'm stealing your kryptonites.
And that's what the Revenge Squad's all about. You stole my kryptonite. Oh my God, you stole my kryptonite. You're like, all right. Like,
you got your blue kryptonite and my red kryptonite.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It seems like it gets so small. And then the idea of Lex Luthor... You mean you were working on kryptonite back in the day?
Back in Smallville when I knew you as a boy?
And then actually it's like, well, not really. I just grabbed it from them and ran, but didn't use it. But now here it is. But now out of nowhere, they're using it to gas Metropolis. But then that's going to make people hate Lex. I don't even know how that works because you have to then announce, hey, by the way, this is all Lex is doing. Who's going to listen to him?
He was in jail.
Yeah, exactly. You could play it off that it wasn't him. And really, what would happen that he's in jail anyway? All of this to be this revenge, and then they're against Superman in this because you didn't join in on the revenge, and then it's over. I mean, the idea that when you're at the end, you're like, oh shit, what happened to Farm and Graff? Oh, they're still passed out.
They're in prison now.
I think that what happens is that...
Yeah, just imagine that. From when we affected Superman with the red kryptonite that we knew was going to make him angry, even though red kryptonite affects him differently each time, but they knew it was going to make him angry. He knocks them out, and for this issue, they've been knocked out, not really here the entire time, and they just get put in prison while they're knocked out. There's your Lex Luthor Revenge Squad.
Revenge Squad, people.
Before you even knew it, it fell apart.
And then, and then you end up having Superman, at the end going, I don't know, maybe that Lex isn't on the up and up, but he seems to be. And then we're just left like that. Even at one point here where they're like, oh, we got Lois and Mercy Graves, but they refuse to go to the infirmary for Lois to say, we gonna talk after this. That's it.
Oh, boy.
That's it. Like, oh, shit. Like,
well, even the way that we fix this situation, because I love the fact that Superman, steps up to the idea that he wants to be involved in Supercorp. He's going to, use everything that he has at his disposal to make sure that they can stop with all the scientists around him. But the thing is, we're going to take this kryptonite, this altered kryptonite that Farm and Graff did, and we're going to put the parasite in a chair, and he's going to suck off this kryptonite of the radiation that they've used to try to make it different. We're going to take that energy, put it through our computer, send that data to Lex Luthor, who's going to be able to do the same thing to the freaking smoke gas around him with them. Like, look, I understand we're doing some weird-ass science right now, but this doesn't jive with me.
No, it didn't jive with me either.
Like, you had to suck the radiation out of it through a parasite. How does that transfer to a wave through the super suit that Lex has to negate the effects of the kryptonite gas?
It must be beyond us, because afterwards Lex goes, you out-genius me. I'm like, no, I think he out-bullshitted you. But also, when you have that, Lena's involved. But to me, not enough. I wish that this would have been a play where Lena really figured everything out and did it while Superman's trying to figure out some stuff or helping people, because that would have upped her a bit.
I did would have liked Lena to help have the spotlight now, because even when Superman's like, Lena has been in charge for the past couple of issues here, trying to do stuff and show how smart she is.
I wanted
but when
her
Superman
more.
decides he wants to be in charge, he kind of pushes it out of the way and starts running the business. And I'm like, I kind of wanted her to work and show you how important she is in the book.
That's what I wanted was, there's Superman. What does Superman do best? He inspires people. So he goes and he has a speech to the people and then go. But Lena, I wanted it to be not fully like a, hey, screw you, Dad. I wanted it to be like, see, Dad? Like almost like a feels moment of him realizing, and he won't want to show like the idea that he's proud or whatever, but do something with it and even have LL01 to be like, he's proud of you.
Hologram, yeah.
Or even the hologram, I'm proud of you. I wanted her to step up, and I wanted her to be the one where then maybe, because this is Superman, I think I'd like running this place. I really wanted him to leave. I don't know what's happening in House of Brainiac, so that might change things, but I kind of wanted Lena to step up and be more of, okay, you're going to do the Super Lex, this, or, Super Core, and I'll come in and out. I thought that would be cool. But one thing that made me laugh, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Aaron. I've been wrong before.
Constantly.
You end up farming Graph. We're going to get somehow. We'll explain when we get to that backstory. But you end up having, and I always end up messing them up. But I believe Farm is it Farm in the wheelchair. I'm telling you, I still always get it messed up every time, and it goes back and forth.
I used to be certain previously, but now I don't know.
So you end up where you want Lex to.
One of them
get
didn't get his doctorate. I know that. You got Dr. Farm and Mr. Graft.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's fun. So he ends up like, hey, you should submit. You rejected our offer to join the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad, and now you're going to pay. And then Lex ends up, what Lex is going to do now is punch a guy in a wheelchair. I don't mind, because the guy's an asshole. He's an asshole. He dresses horribly. Look at how they avoid showing that chair. He gets punched and then gets knocked on the ground. You could barely see her. Like, I think that Art came in like, we cannot have that wheelchair there. It's really going to show Lex in a power suit is beating up a guy in a wheelchair. But then he goes off because he says, I'll go and stop this. I have to go out. Lex says, Superman says, no, I will. And he says, no, because if you're in the suit and it gets pierced, you'll die. And he says, well, so will you. And he's like, no, not right away. But I will, yeah, but who cares? I did this. It's a nice moment for Lex.
No, it's a great moment overall for the idea where Lex is stepping up to him. Even the idea in this issue alone, you get some great costume changes, whether they, useful or not. You get some great costume changes to the point where Lex Luthor shows up in his old Rebirth-era Superman armored suit, which is great. You have Superman getting down to some science bit. He puts on a Superman lab coat. Looks fucking awesome. I don't know why. It looks awesome on him. It's almost like a Kryptonian kind of robe they used to wear.
It looks like a Kryptonian thing. That's what it looks
then
like.
Later on, he has a Superman Lex Luthor power armor on him. Like, that looks cool, too.
And then at one point, he went home for a cape. I like the idea, too, because even Superman says, where'd you get that? And it really does show, like, if you really want to kind of get the layers of the deal, because this is a super suit from before, like, he did keep that. So, like, he didn't destroy it. He didn't get mad. It's there. So he gets it. And they go out. And so you have just Superman like, hey, everybody, we're going to get this. Everybody, you're going to join together. Let's figure this out. And then says to Lex, the kryptonite's something that has been, my weakness. It could kill me. So obviously I've done some research. And then Lex's line is like, what about that Battle City of Kandor? That's what he just says on the side. But even when you have Superman working on it, it does feel silly for the amount of time that he's had and he couldn't figure. But the idea of hearing, because he says then, and this plays off wonky to me. Like, we have no time, but give me a little backstory. Now, you do get one bit of info, but really what you should be saying is, all that research you did in Farm and Graph, what did you figure out? What can we use? Not, tell me the past and how you hooked up with them and how you were mad at me and like, it's too much. It's too much in the deal of what the situation is, but it's okay. It gives you that backstory.
I do kind of like the idea we did have the backstory, even with him in Smallville. It comes off as a very, like, Superman birthright, like Lex Luthor, and I do enjoy that interpretation of him.
In fact, I was thinking the idea, well, wasn't he friends with, like, but it's this here.
I'm saying, this one doesn't feel exactly like the friend aspect, but it's very that mannerism of Lex Luthor of it.
What I'm saying, though, is, hey, Lex, these people are dying from this kryptonite gas. Tell me what you know about
Tell me a
Farm and
story.
Craft. And he goes, well, remember back in Smallville? When I want Superman to say, okay, we'll talk about that later. We can go down memory lane later. Right now, I need to know the important. What can I use? I'm not going to get anything from you walking through and meeting Clark Kent back in the day. Please. But he tells it. But it's for us to know. And there's nothing different about it.
They were working on kryptonite. I was working on kryptonite. Even though I was a superhero there, my villains, we decided to work together. The brothers had bombarded the kryptonite with different levels of radiation to study its qualities. Together, we noticed it's reacted to radiation from Earth's yellow sun. And then you stole it. Yep, then I stole it. I'm like, you didn't really tell me what was going on, though.
Yeah, and then how did Farm get in that wheelchair? I thought we were going to see it. I thought he was going to do something and blow up and something.
Is that all we did? Did we bombard the kryptonite with Earth's yellow sun radiation, and now it's susceptible? Like, people are susceptible to it. Is that what the whole deal was? Is that the exact plan? We just bombarded with yellow rays like a Kryptonian?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. I don't know why that means what it does, but it's an excellent. It really feels like oh no, we got to explain this. Well, let's do that, and it's kind of a weird. No.
See what happens, Superman? We're going to use this as a parallel to talk about kryptonite. Pieces of your home world, yes, they're irradiated, but when your people and your soil are under Earth's yellow sun, you know what it does? It kills people.
Yeah, and that's what you get.
That's our parallel, huh? But no, we never bring up the idea of that. For I'll tell you, that is a perfect way to talk Lex into hating Superman. And the idea that all of Krypton under Earth's yellow sun, it's just going to hurt people.
Yeah, and so Lex was a good guy. He decides, since they were working on, the idea that he's going after them, I think they might have been involved in some other sus things, but he's like, we'll push that aside. Let's shake on it. Kind of funny. And then all of a sudden he just steals it. But then where do you go from that step to later on? It's just so odd. I do like at the one point where Lex, he doesn't put together the idea where Clark comes out because there's some kryptonite in the field. And Lex is collecting, I got to get this stuff. And then Clark comes, hey, what are you doing, Lex? What are you doing? And he's like, oh, just getting this. Oh, my God, I feel sick. Shut your mouth. I like that he
That's because it smells like poo around here.
He's like, I don't care about you. It's the air around here. It sucks. I'm getting out of here. I'm getting to the big city with that fresh city air. I'm going off. And I like when he shows up, and it's such a funny play of he was a good guy until he decided to steal kryptonite from the bad guys. And and you just push it by.
While Superman is working on the kryptonite with Parasite and the rest of the Supercorp scientists, he's talking about how he knows so much about what's going on. You don't realize this, but when I was in the 1800s as a cowboy Superman, I found a very young farm in Graff's own research on manipulating elements. It gave me a glimpse into some of what they've been doing since they returned to Metropolis. I'm like, it's the 1800s when they're in little sailor suits, 7 years old. What the hell would they be working on for over 100 years now? This gave you a little idea. You want to know, look at some of my drawings from when I was 7 or 6 years old. You'll figure out what I'm working on.
Wow, they were smart. Also, the idea of, this is way back, what are these guys? We really didn't nail. They say at one point, I don't think that's the last we'll see of them, even though we just said they're in prison and we're going to watch them. But you didn't learn much about these guys that were kids of the 1800s, Old West, doing stuff, drawing pictures. What's the deal? What are they? You never get to it. You end up with
that's
this.
The thing is, Farm, Graft, and the Chained all knocked out for the majority of this issue, right? All we're really left with is the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad is Letitia Luthor then in a power suit. And okay, here we go. Mother and son. Mano y mano, or mano y mother. I don't know how it works out in that language. But when we have this going down.
Mano y mama.
He's like, hey, are there power suits connected to Supercorp? Yep. All right, shut them down. And then Superman saves both of them. Lex Luthor didn't even have a chance to actually even step up and show himself here against his own mother. It's all done for him.
Yeah, and that's and even at this one point, you have weird things also. Please, Parasite, learn one of these times. Don't help. I know it's nice to help.
Parasite right now is being treated pretty well at Supercorp.
Well, there he is. But I swear to God. And
this is the best meal he's ever had.
Well, that is. He loves it. But this is what always happens to him. They say, help out. Oh, man, it's good to be wanted, Superman. You are wanted, Rudy. We love you. And then when things are solved, they forget about his ass. They lock him up.
I'm telling you, you can still do such an amazing idea of withdrawal and addiction and stuff like that with what Rudy's character is now for the little bit that they're giving him to keep him sustained until, in my mind, he overcomes that and starts going through withdrawal with even the little bit that he's given. It could be such a great parallel to a drug addiction story dealing with Rudy Jones's tragic character.
But he's always this sort of thing. He's always a device at the end of something to suck something. It's
Oh, yeah?
What are we doing here? It's like you on Wednesday
You and me,
night.
Rudy.
It's the device.
Such a pair.
It always ends with both of you sucking things. So you have this, and even when they have to have these, they're trying to put, Joshua Williams is trying to put stakes here. And at one point, they're like, oh, no, he's fighting his mom. Hey, you got to save everybody else before you fight your mom. He's like, no, I want to fight my mom. Are you a change man or not? Fine. And then he does it. But then they say like a phrase like, well, everybody's safe now, but we need Lex to hold out a little longer. You end up where I think it's Mercy says right here. Lex is almost done. The kryptonite radiation clouds have completely dispersed. Metropolis will be saved if Mr. Luthor can hold out a little bit longer. You're like, what do you mean? You just said they're all dispersed. They're all done. You're just setting up what is tension to, oh my God, Lena, don't press that button because it'll set, but it doesn't mean anything. Like, what happens now? The suits go off. Somehow Mercy says you need a little bit longer, but you didn't get it, but it doesn't matter because it didn't matter. It's weird, right?
It's totally weird. And this is the idea here that, like, okay, Letitia's gone. The entire Lex Luthor Revenge Squad is sent away to different versions of different prisons because they don't have room for them in Strikers right now. And when you end the issue, it's like, all right, well, I'm kind of happy. Actually, it's a double-edged sword. I don't know if I'm happy or not. Just the idea that Marilyn Moonlight didn't do a goddamn thing in this felt kind of weird for all of the buildup that she had for this to be the ending to the story. Like, oh no, she's not even worth having here. But
like maybe what she could have done is sent some of the poisonous gas back to the Old West to those assholes. There's a lot of hateful people there, right? All of a sudden she does that and wipes out everything. Oh God.
Well, don't you understand, Jim? With her more science and supernatural ghost self, if she gets hit with yellow kryptonite, she will go back in time. So that could be a thing that happens.
You say that, and which made more sense? The science, supernatural, non-explanation of Marilyn Moonlight, or the crap that happened in this with, we're going to do this and zap that, and then Lex is going to go with a certain frequency?
Look,
Judge Williamson has some issues with explaining some of the stuff, but when it's fun, that's fine. But when it gets like a deal of, oh, you're just rushing it, then it's not fine. And that's what I felt in this one.
At the end of the day, though, Lex Luthor is given credit for saving Metropolis, which I love, which might even get him paroled from prison and stuff like that in the future. And it looks like while this is going on, Superman wants to take more control of Supercorp. Looks like Lobo's breaking his ass out of maybe the Brainiac skull ship, but even the progression of it, I'm not sure, because it even looks like where he's breaking out of from underneath, like through, where they had the chain locked up at one point. That's what it looked like to me, but I'm guessing he's still on the Brainiac skull ship where we saw him previously breaking up. But the main man's here. He's fragging free, and it looks like Brainiac's skull ship is heading towards Earth. So we're on the way to the House of Brainiac, at least.
I want to be the judge when they're going through like Lex, and they're like, well, listen, his lawyers. Well, he saved Metropolis. We should get some time off from his sentence. And I don't know what the sentence is, but he's like, yeah, you're right. I'm going to take 5 years off his sentence. But he did break out and was out and about when he did 7 years on his sentence. He actually added 2 years to his sentence because he is out of prison doing shit that saved Metropolis, but he's supposed to be in prison. Kind of all gets wonky.
And somehow, though, with Clark Kent thinking about this Lex Luthor Revenge Squad and why they waited all this time to get back into this, why would they wait all this time to get back in the game now? Why now? And then the book's like, why now indeed? More startling revelations begin in next month's epic House of Brainiac. Was Brainiac a part of this Lex Luthor Revenge Squad? We had no idea.
It's synergy, Eric. I wanted Lois should have said, it looks like you're thinking of something. Are you? I think I am. I think the Brainiacs.
I do really like that Jimmy Olsen, while Lois was away, took control of the Daily Planet and put the paper out on time. And the headline, even though it upsets Clark, Lex Luthor saved Metropolis. Like, I like that. I really just want this book to become the Lex Luthor and Superman buddy cop film.
I wanted to have them also why did he draw a picture of the scene? And that it looks like it's like a pencil drawing on the front cover. I actually wish at the end this would have made it for me. Hey, what are you thinking of? Something's bugging you. Yeah, I just can't get it. I'd have to be a Brainiac to understand that. Boom!
Don't foreshadowing.
Yes. He's like, huh. And she's like, what do you mean? Do you think there's a House of Brainiac coming? He's like, what are you, crazy?
That's a weird thing to say.
That's weird, Lois. Get out of town. Make me a pot pie, bitch. That's what he said there.
Wow. Took it to a weird place for some reason.
No, he went to the Old West. They're all hateful there. That's why you needed to gas him. He brought some of the Old West back.
Genocide.
Some of the Old East. Yeah, well, that could explain a lot of shit that happened back in the day. But I did have somebody say today that did make me crack up that anytime you have a big thing with Superman, it always has to be a house of something. House of Zod, house of this, house of Brainiac. That's his thing.
House of L.
Yeah, House of L. It's always something like that. But House of Brainiac, there it is. Do you think Brainiac, It really doesn't work with Brainiac, but we'll see if it does. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I look forward to Brainiac. We haven't had him proper in a while, so I want to see where this goes. And plus Lobo.
Have a story that's tight. Don't get distracted. And then at the end, hopefully by the end, because this is going to be a big thing, but anything that you mentioned to me that he's done, by the end of a big story or arc, he ends up more like looking at the next couple things than actually finishing things proper, and it's starting to
even in this,
get annoying.
You introduce a new villain for Superman beyond Farm and Graft, and I'm talking about the Chain, who feel like he could actually be a recurring character that was like a big threat to Superman, but what did you get from him in these 12 issues so far, you know?
We go back to the Old West to get a pretty much, hey, look, Marilyn Moonlight made herself the hero back in the day to be a ghost, then we go...
And then she died, and science brought her back.
Tell me right now, in this story that we have of Revenge Squad and all that, why we needed Marilyn Moonlight, because we did not need...
And why we know nothing.
The only thing that you did was then have Superman's like, I remember the shit I was reading back in the 1800s. I remember that. It looked crazy. I didn't know what it was then, but I read it.
Stole from a bunch of 6-year-olds in sailor suits.
Yeah, that's it. It'd be funny to look. It's just like you and your buddies' comics you made, 6th graders. You end up where all this, like, why? And that took issues out. Then you end up having, like you said, the Chain that seemed like a neat idea, but that's the thing, too, where everybody's centered on, oh, my God, you mean Lex grabs kryptonite? There was this or that. And, like, what about the Chain? We kind of pushed that aside.
He got TK powers like Superboy, but better.
And it just got pushed aside. Like, everything gets pushed aside. I'll give some of these writers, the only thing that they're good at, it seems, is kind of making you forget their nonsense at points. Because, again, we're saying these things. It's making me more... I wasn't thinking all of this while I was reading it. I just thought, oh, this rushed to an end, whatnot. But now when I think about all the things that he added in that he didn't need to...
A year of Superman stories that didn't feel like it came together.
Yeah, that took away from some of the moments, and some of the moments that should have been bigger that weren't, because you were Marilyn moonlighting things with her gun and her supernatural meets science. Maybe you would have thought she would have shown up. Right? Like, I would have, yeah. But then I guess it'd have to be nighttime. Is that the thing?
That's true. She has to be nighttime for some reason until the kryptonite affects her and she could be out in the daytime because you need that.
Yeah, well, yeah, but she's out fighting Immortal Hulk or something. The nighttime's his time, right? But she's saying it's my time. I don't know. I don't know, because the things I really want to like this. It has like the feels of like what I would like, but nothing's explained well. Things are rushed, and the focus of things. And boy,
Lena's a breakout character. It's great bringing her back.
And with Lena there, when she says, shut down, my grandmother's armor. Is this connected? Yeah, it's also connected to Lex. Do it. Like, she hates it. Is this a hero or a villain term? Because it didn't feel quite like that. It felt weird.
It didn't feel like that at all. It's like, yes, this is the sacrifice we have to make the Superman's there.
I think it was supposed to be a villainous thing. Like, I didn't either. I got the idea that, actually, I just think she wants her grandmother dead. And like, yeah, well, Lex will figure it out.
I don't know about dead, but stopping them.
A panel later, Superman saves him. Like, there was nothing. You kind of go by it. Like, I was waiting for some, like, Lex to say, who the hell turned off my armor? Like, whoever did that is done. And she's like,
so much for Letitia Luthor being a threat. Even the idea that she came to Metropolis first and, like, Lex came and then took over a company. Like, this is the big motivation. Like, it's just set in like one panel. You don't really even get anything behind it. It's just, you took my company and then you sent me away with your ill-begotten daughter, and now I'm back and Mama's going to take her company back.
And I'm wrong. I'm looking, when she says do it, she does have a villain sneer on it when she says LL01. My grandmother's armor, yes, it's connected. Your father's, they're both shut down, which really, that doesn't make much sense either, especially because it's old armor of Lex. But the idea of, hey, shut it down, then do it. And she has like a weird smile on her face, like, I want them both dead so I can take over. We'll see, but it didn't feel like that, and then it was just nothing. You have a page turn at least, but then it's just Superman saving them. Like, he saved me and you. Actually, the same exact grip he had on us, but that's what he does. Yeah, it just is weird, and then everybody just gets thrown into jail. And you're like, and then when they even say, like, I guess that, like, the Chain doesn't even, like, you almost forget that they were even involved, them. At least you have Farm and Graph or more fun, but then even then, the good thing they were knocked out. All right, like, that didn't really end great. But what would you give this?
I would give this a 6.3 out of 10. I think the art is phenomenal throughout. I like some of the plot continuation with the idea of Superman wanting to be in charge, Lena Luthor being, more like involved with this whole thing. But it's just everything about the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad came to a screeching halt, and it didn't feel like it had enough time to do anything, even though we've been telling this story for a year. It's just crazy, and it's very disappointing.
Yeah, it is. The one good thing I will say that if you're worried that, okay, well, Joshua Williamson does have problems the story, whatever. I forgot. He's also doing Action Comics, so he's going to have 2 books. So he damn well better be able to tell a full story for this House of Brainiac.
And hopefully get some good synergy throughout both, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be cool. So we'll see how that plays. I'm a 6. I did like the art. I thought it was kind of cool.
And I love the costume changes.
I like the costume change. Like, it's one of those issues that if you actually did, page through, don't read anything, it really looks like it could be a lot of fun. Like, you're like, oh my God, you have this, you have Lex in that armor, you have Letitia, you have but then when you read it, and it's such a forced way to get out of a story that you told for all these issues, a year. And then you get to this, and an annual, I think, right? And then it usually works out. So you end up having, and you realize, like, boy, what went wrong? Like, you set up some things, but never really got things going, and then you just ended. So the Revenge Squad, actually, I'll tell you, because Eric loves Revenge Squads. He loves them. They usually don't work out. They always end up, like, we're always disappointed by the end. First off, they're not really going to get revenge, but still, this Lex deal got twisted and turned.
When the revenge business, you better dig 2 graves.
Damn right. Yeah, really. All right, one for you and one for me, Eric.
Weird science
is the revolution.